like Sarah got it, Pam. Is there anything else we need from her?
Hi, Pam.
Good morning.
I'll take a hug. Of course. Is that allowed? I really like your shirt. Thank you. Great. Cool. That's good.
Okay. Is the answer. Good morning, gentlemen. It is good to be davening with you this morning. We're davening from a different place, and we'll explain it presently, but we hope you'll hear us throughout the room more easily.
And we have singing Shabbaton, Shacharit song sheets, or shong sheets, for alliterative. Yes. So while we are davening the words of Birchot HaShachar, feel free to follow along with the rabbi, who will be reading some kavanot alongside.
On the left of 104 is what I'll be reading. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lasech livina lehavchin ben yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tzalmo. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani bat chorin. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokev kifufim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz hamayim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa li kol tzorki. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael bigvura. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten Shena Menai Utnuma Me Apapai Yada Dai 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 Dai
Baruch atah Adonai gomel hasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael. You may be seated. We're getting close to a minute. Close. If you will turn with me to page 120 for a psalm for the morning. Mizmor Shir Lamelat Habayit David. הפכת מספדי למחולי, פיתחת שקית תזרני שמחה, למען יזמרך כבוד ולא ידום, אדוני אלוהי, לעולם עודקו. Page 121. Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דיברה קירותי, בעמלית מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי בכל בית ישראל. Bagala Vizman Kari Vimru Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam U'Lameh Maya. Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitbar V'Yitramam V'Yitnaseh. V'Yitadar V'Yitaleh V'Yitalal Shmei V'Kudshah V'Rikud. Le'ela Min Kol V'Rchata V'Shirata. Tush Bechata V'Nechemata. Damiran Be'alma Vimru Amen. Yehe Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Oseh shalom v'murmo. Uyaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. May their memories be for a blessing. If you would all please rise as we come to Baruch She'amar. Blessed is the one who spoke, and the world came into being.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom. Can we? Okay.
Shabbat shalom.
So we are on page 122, and just a quick introduction to Baruch She'amar. So one of the biggest lies that I was taught when I was a kid was sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And that turned out to not be true. Words have the potential to be far more powerful than we often give them credit for. Words can ruin relationships, or they can heal them. They've started wars, and they've ended wars. And in the case of this prayer, Baruch She'amar, the world came into existence because God spoke it into being. The prayer begins, Baruch She'amar v'haya ha'olam, praise be the one who spoke and the world came to be. And if God has the power to create a whole universe with words, then, and we are all created B'Tselem Elohim in the image of God, then by extension, don't we also have the power to create something actually tangible with our words? So I think, maybe not now because there's not all that no, there's enough of you, sure. We should try it because there's a lot of darkness and negativity in our world, and we have this awesome gift, the gift of speech, that if used correctly can brighten somebody's day. So before we actually get into the singiness of our Shabbat services today, if you could take just one moment, let's say 30 seconds, and try to create a smile on somebody's face, and then we'll get right into it. Can you smile? Oh, we'll explain it. Sing with me, ya da 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 da, ya da da da, ya da 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 da, ya da da, ya da da da. Baruch she'amar v'haya haolam, Baruch hu, Baruch osei v'reshit, Baruch shemo, Baruch omer ve'osei, Baruch hu, Baruch gozer umkayem, Baruch shemo, Baruch marachem al haaretz, Baruch hu, Baruch merachem al habriot, Baruch shemo, Baruch mishalem sachar tov lireya, Baruch hu, Baruch chai la'ad v'kayam la'netzach, Baruch shemo, Baruch bodeh umatzil, Baruch hu, Baruch shemo. We'll continue on page 125 at the carrot with Romimu, or on your little song sheet. Oh, sorry.
Yachichei olami melech meshubachim v'ardei ad shemo hagadol, Baruch atah Adonai melech mehulal v'tishvacho. You may be seated if you like.
Romemu, 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 Adonai Eloheinu. Try that with me. Romemu, 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 Adonai Eloheinu. Now repeat after me. Ve'ishtachavu le'arkodsho, ve'ishtachavu le'arkodsho, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu, 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 Adonai Eloheinu. Ve'ishtachavu le'arkodsho, ve'ishtachavu le'arkodsho, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu, 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 Adonai Eloheinu.
Or there and then. You sure you want that one? She says it. For tripping. Absolutely. Thank you, Morton. I want folks to notice that on your sheet here you have the parts that are responsive in bold. For example, the Ve'ishtachavu le'arkodsho and other portions of Psalm 150. So the bolded sections are for everyone to respond. Turn with me over to Ashrei, page 136.
Ashrei yoshvei veitecha, od yehalelucha selah. Ashrei yoshvei veitecha, od yehalelucha selah. Ashrei, Ashrei, Ashrei yoshvei veitecha. Ashrei, Ashrei, Ashrei yoshvei veitecha. Ashrei ha'am shekacha, Ashrei ha'am shadonai lo.
תהילת אדוני דבר פי ויברך כל בשר שם קדושו לעולם ועד ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם. As we prepared for the next psalm on page 139, I want to explain why we're here in the center of the room. We're here in the center of the room because this gives us the shortest distance from our voices to your voices, and in reverse as well. It allows us to hear your voices much better. By being in the center of the room, we're much closer to each other, and so I can hear your voice. So on this psalm, let's practice letting our voice be heard. I want to hear you from behind me, from in front of me, from all around me. If you intend to sing particularly loud, go ahead and come sit here close to the bima so that I can hear you harmonizing with us. Page 139.
And you have the transliteration on your sheet if you would like it. Hallelujah. 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 Adonai min hashamayim. Hallelujah. Bamromim. Hallelujah. Kol melachav. Hallelujah. Kol tzivav. Hallelujah. Shemesh ve'areya. Hallelujah. Kol chokvei or. Hallelujah. Shemei hashamayim ve'hamayim. Asher me'al hashamayim. Hallelujah, et Shem Adonai ki utziva v'nivra'u ve'ya'amidem le'ad le'olam chok natan v'lo yavor. Hallelujah, et Shem Adonai ki utziva v'nivra'u ve'ya'amidem le'ad le'olam chok natan v'lo yavor. Turn over to the last psalm on page 141, with which we close the book of Psalms. This piece of the morning prayers is about coming into a posture of praise, coming into a state of wonder and awe. This morning, on our singing Shabbaton, I hope that all will come in part from being surrounded by each other and the voices of a whole congregation so close to each other, lifting up our spirits in praise. This particular setting of Psalm 150 was a big hit with our Shir Chadash participants. So Psalm 150 on page 141. Okay, so your part is in bold, and it goes praise, praise, yeah, praise, praise, yeah, praise in the temple, praise, yeah, praise in the street. Praise God in the eyes of every face you meet. Praise, praise for your partner. Praise, yeah, praise for your foes. Praise, praise for everyone and everything you know. Kol hanshama, kol hanshama, kol hanshama tehallel. Kol hanshama, kol hanshama, kol hanshama tehallel. Praise. Praise Yah. Sing it, Karen. Praise. Praise Yah. Praise with your working. Praise with your play. Praise with your thinking. With what you say. Praise with your dreaming. Praise through the night. Praise with your actions. Praise with all your might. Kol Hanshama, Kol Hanshama, Kol Hanshama, Tehalel Yah. Kol Hanshama, Kol Hanshama, Kol Hanshama, Tehalel Yah. Praise with your timbrel. Praise with the dance. Praise with your senses, every single chance. Praise with your fingers. Praise with your feet. Praise with your heart, every single beat. Kol Hanshama, Kol Hanshama, Kol Hanshama, Tehalel Yah. Kol Hanshama, Kol Hanshama, Kol Hanshama, Tehalel Yah. Praise with the trumpet, praise with the flute, praise with the harp, praise with the lute, praise with the bucket, praise with the pot, praise with crashing cymbals, everything you got. Kol Hanshama, Kol Hanshama, Kol Hanshama, Tehalel Yah. Kol Hanshama, Kol Hanshama, Kol Hanshama, Tehalel Yah. If you'll please join me on the left margin of page 143, I will sing. Sometimes we sing to ourselves, no one else hears the sound, yet our minds are singing. Sometimes we sing, our vocal cords voice a tune, you can join me, and all can hear it and recognize it. And sometimes we sing, and every cell of our bodies contains the song. Such songs transform both the singer and the listener. That is the way people Israel sang as they were saved in crossing the sea. Ozi vezimrad Yah vayehi li lishua. Ozi vezimrad Yah vayehi li lishua. Ozi, Ozi vezimrad Yah vayehi li lishua. Ozi vezimrad Yah vayehi li lishua. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mikamocha nedar b'kodesh. Norah tehilot. Osei fel Adonai yimloch. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai, yai dai dai dai. Yai dai dai, yai dai dai. Yai dai, yai dai dai. Yai dai dai.
You sound beautiful. You may be seated. Page 145, or Nishma in the bottom right corner of your song sheet.
Nishmat kol chai, tivarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu.
Join me in the English on the bottom right of your song sheets or on the left side of the page. Were our mouths filled with song as the sea, our tongues to sing endlessly like countless waves, our lips to offer limitless praise like the sky, our eyes to shine like the sun and moon, our arms to spread heavenward like eagle's wings, and our feet as swift as a deer, we would still be unable to fully express our gratitude to you, Adonai, our God, God of our ancestors, or to praise your name for even one of the myriad moments of kindness with which you have blessed our ancestors and us. Page 147, or the second side of your song sheet.
Yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai, dai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai. Shochenat marom v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai laishari Tidbarach uvilshon chasidim titromam uvikrev kedoshim titkadash umachalot rivivot amcha beit Yisrael berina yipar shimcha makenu bechol dor vador sheken chovad kol tzorim lifanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu lehodot lehalel Yishtabach Shimcha La'ad Malkeinu. The Hasidic master Simcha Bunam once offered a play on the phrase Shirei Zimra, chorus of song. He vocalized the letters differently and read it as Shayarei Zimra, that which is left over after the singing, and suggested that God most delights in the inexpressible feelings that remain in the heart after the singing has ended. Berachot vehodaot me'ata ve'ad olam, Baruch atah Adonai, el melech gadol batishbachot, el hahodaot Adonai niflaot, habocher b'shirei zimra, melech elchei ha'olamim. Melech elchei ha'olamim. Melech elchei ha'olamim. Two more times. Melech elchei ha'olamim. Melech elchei ha'olamim. Yigadal v'yigadash shemei rabbah. Ve'almad yivrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chaychon v'yomechon v'chayedecho be'Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kari ve'imeru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabbah. Yibarach v'yishabach v'pa'ar v'yitramam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu le'lam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata tamiran be'ama v'imru. Amen.
Baruch Hu is on 149. This is where the community truly joins together as a community for the sake of blessing in Shema and Amidah.
So I wanted to share a few words from the great Joey Weisenberg. He says, people sing for widely divergent reasons, any one of which is meaningful enough and probably reason enough to consider the kind of community commitment I'm suggesting. Here are just a few. Music has always been intricately interwoven into Jewish life. When we sing today, we feel connected with the great Jewish singers of centuries past, from King David to Yoseli Rosenblatt. Singing allows us to communicate and express ourselves in ways that words cannot, an example of our yearning for the divine or in the communication of our deepest sorrows or joys. Singing brings us closer to each other in a community and teaches us how to listen to each other on many levels, despite what may seem to be our vastly different backgrounds and worldviews. Singing helps us to suspend our disbelief, like in the theater, to momentarily set aside our cynical worldviews and stifling thought habits and catch glimpses of the infinite wonder of the world. Singing is a platform for invention and creativity that allows us to improvise, create spontaneous harmonies and rhythms, and otherwise express our freedom. Now I forget the nigun for the Baruch Hu.
Washarsky. Oh, was it different? That's what it's there.
Yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Try that. Yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Barechu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam
You may be seated.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Melech haolam. Yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Hakol yoducha ve'hakol yishabchucha.
All thank you. It is not you alone or we or those others who pray. All things pray. All things pour forth their souls. The heavens pray, the earth prays. Every creature, every living thing prays. In all life there's longing. Creation is itself but a longing, a kind of prayer of the Almighty. אין זולתך מלכנו לחיי עולם הבא, אפס בתך גואל ימות המשיח, ואין דומה לך מושיענו לתחיית המתים.
151. El Adon al kol hamasim baruch umvorach b'fi kol nishama kolo v'tuvo malei olam da'at u'tvuna sovevim oto. Mikael chayot hakodesh nedar bechavod al merkava zechur mishor lifnei chiso chesed verachamim lifnei chevodo tovim me'orot shebara Eloheinu yitzaram beda'at bina upaskel koach ugvura natan bahem liov moshlim tevet Meleim zivum veikim noga na'eziram bechol ha'olam Semechim b'tzeitam v'sasim bevoam Osim be'em ha'retzon konam Be'er v'chavon notnim lishmot zahola verina L'zecher malchuto kara l'shemesh Vayizrach hora v'hikin Zora Havana Shebach Notnim Lo Kol Tzivah Ma'aron Tiferet Ugedula Seraphim Ve'ofanim Ve'chayot HaKodesh Yalai la 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 Yalai la Yalai Yalai la 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 Yalai la 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 Yalai la 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 Ve'el asher shivat mikol ha'ma'asim
Oneg kara leyom ha'shabbat le'shevach shel yom ha'shvi.
Tibarach Moshienu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha ve'al me'orei or she'asita yifaruch hasela. Tibarach
153.
Tibarach tzurenu malkeinu v'go aleinu.
Ore kedoshim yishtabachim halal malkeinu yotzer hakol. We're coming to the Kedusha de Sidra. I want to share the following. In acting like angels, we turn to one another and give one another permission to continue in prayer, saying Notnim Reshut. In some Hasidic communities, as well as my own at Hebrew College, where I was trained, another phrase is added, in love, be'ahava. And people within the community look up from their prayer books and actually make eye contact with one another during that prayer. A group of individuals look up from their personal transformative practice and instead invite one another to be
Kulam ahuvim, kulam birorim, kulam giborim, v'chulam osim be'ema uvira retzon konam, v'chulam potchim et pihem, b'kedusha uv'tehora, b'shira uv'zimra, umvarchim umshabchim, umfarim umaritzim, umakdishim umamlichim, et shem ha'el ha'melech ha'gadol, ha'gibor v'hanora, kadosh V'chulam mekablim aleihem al malchut shamayim ze mizeh v'notnim reshut ze lazeh lehakdish liotzeram b'nachat ruach b'safa v'rura uvnima kedusha kulam ke'echad onim ve'omrim be'ira kadosh 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 Adonai tziva'ot melohol haaretz Ofanim v'chayot hakodesh b'ra'ash gadol minasim le'umat sirafim le'umatam mishabchim ve'omrim Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo le'el baruch nimotitenu
that the world began in song. I'd like to riff that and say the world began with a hum. A hum and then a big boom. And each day it grew bigger and bigger and contained more and more. We cannot live each new day just the same way that we lived the last one because of all those experiences and memories from yesterday that inform how we live today. So each day is actually created totally anew, filled with new opportunities. And each day we have the potential to become the partners of God in taking the action of creation, making something together with God, adding to the world in a way that only you can. Zion Ta'ir, v'nizkeh kulanu, kulanu meira, kulanu meira, kulanu meira, le'oro, or chadash, or chadash, or chadash, al Zion Ta'ir. Nizkeh kulanu, kulanu meira, kulanu meira, kulanu meira, le'oro, hum, hum, ha, hum, ha, hum, ha. Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. 154.
Ahava, 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 Ahava Rabbah, Ahava Ahava, Ahava, Ahava Rabba, Ahavtanu.
Adonai Eloheinu, chem lavi racham al ta'aleinu, avinu malkeinu, baruch avosneinu, yivahu elhav v'telamdenu b'chaim, yendelonenu telamdenu, avinu avarachman, avrayim rakeim aleinu, v'tein b'libeinu, le'avinu lehaskil, lishmoa lilmod, u'leilamed, lishmor v'lasot, ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה.
והארננו בתורתך ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך ויחד לבבנו באהבה וליראה את שמך ולא נבוש לעולם ועד ולא נבוש לעולם ועד כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בעטנו נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך.
Together our tzitzis and our concentration, the bottom of 154, and preparing for the Shema.
והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו כי אלבו ישועת אתה ובנו בחרת מכל ולשון וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה.
Baruch atah Adonai, Abocher b'mo Yisroel, me'ahava.
Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך ובכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשפרך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בעיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם מתוקן מקובל וטוב ויפה הדבר הזה ולעולם הולד אמת ולעולם ולברוך חיים וקיימים נאמנים נחמדים לעולמים.
We continue at the center of page 157. Emet shetahu Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Malkeinu Melech Avoteinu. Emet shetahu Adonai Eloheinu Velohei Avoteinu Malkeinu Melech Avoteinu. Go aleinu, go el Avoteinu, Yotzreinu, Tzur Yeshuateinu, Podenu, Umatzilenu, Me'olam Shemecha, Ein Elohim Zulatecha. Back to Emet. Emet shetahu, Adonai Eloheinu, Velohei Avoteinu, Malkeinu Melech Avoteinu. Emet shetahu, Adonai Eloheinu, Velohei Avoteinu, Malkeinu Melech Avoteinu. Ezrat Avoteinu Atahu Me'olam. We continue on page 158. Imagine you have just crossed the sea. You've escaped from the Egyptian army and walked through a sea on dry land to your freedom. How could you express all the joy, wonder, relief, and love in your hearts? It's no wonder that this is the moment of the first song, the first shir in the Torah. But how do you know what to sing? It is said that Moses and Miriam sang a line, and the whole nation repeated it back. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha, nedar ba'kodesh, Nora tehilot, oh seifele, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, Shira chadasha, Shibechu geulim, Leshimcha al Sfat, al Sifat Hayam. Feel free to add harmonies if you want. Yachad kulam, hodu vehimlechu, ve'ameru, Adonai lo, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah El Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol Zofer Hasei Avod Umevi Goel Lifnei Bneihem Man Shemo B'Yahava Melech Ozer V'Gid Mashiach Baruch atah Adonai Magid Abraham Ufokei Tzara Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei Meitim Atah Rav Le'Hoshia Mashi Baruch Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed Mechayei Meitim B'Rachamim Rabim Somech Noflim B'Rofei Kolim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Bichamocha V'Kifuro Umido Melech Melech Memit Umechaye Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah lahachayot meitim Baruch atah Adonai Mechaye HaMeitim Nekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam Keshem shemakdishim bo to b'shmei marom Kakatuv ya neviecha V'kara ze ve'amar Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Tzevaot Melech kol haaretz Kevodo Az bekol rash gadol Adir v'chazak mashmi'im kol Mitnasim leumat sirafim leumatam Baruch Yomeru Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomcha Malkeinu Tofia V'timloch aleinu Ki mechakim anachnu lach Matai timloch B'tzion B'karo be'ameinu Le'olam va'et tishkon Yadai dai 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 Yadai dai 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 Yadai dai dai Yadai dai dai Kadash B'toch Yerushalayim Yerushalayim Ircha L'dor Vador U'netzach Netzachim Ve'eneinu Tirena Machutecha Kadavar ha'amor b'shirei Uzecha Al Yedei David Mashiach Tzidkecha Yimloch Adonai Le'olam Elohai Tzion Ledor Vador Hallelujah Yai Dai 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 Ledor Vador Nagigod Lecha Ulenetzach Netzachim Kedushatcha Nagdish V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed Ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata Baruch ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh Yai dai 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 Yai dai 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 Yai dai 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 Yai dai 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 Ose shalom bimromav hu ויושבי תבל ויאמרו אמן, 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 ויאמרו אמן, amen, amen, amen. And may you find peace, and may you find peace, and may you find peace. Amen. May you find love. May you find love, and may you find love, and may you find love. Amen. 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 Oh, say shalom. Bimroma. I changed keys. Who? Oh, say shalom. You guys get it. Carrying on. We continue with Yika Kaddish Alem. No, I'm not going to end on that. Oh, say shalom. Bimroma. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yoshvei tevel ve'imeru. Amen. 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 Ve'imeru. Amen. 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 Yikadavi kadashemei rabba. Ve'amadi rafirte ve'amlich malchute b'chaychon v'yomechon u'chayedicho be'Yisrael bagalav bizman kari ve'imeru. Yehesh merabba mevorach ve'alav olam ve'amaya Yivarach v'yishabach v'pa'ar v'terman v'naseh v'tadar v'taleh v'talal shemei kudasha Le'ila min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran ve'amba v'imeru Tika b'tzlo tehon v'tahon decho Yisrael kadama v'handi v'shmaya v'imeru Yehesh lama rabba min shemai v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru Oseh shalom b'romav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru Amen.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. It's terrific to see so many faces back after being here last night. Thank you all for coming, and I don't think I've ever seen you sit so close together. I want to say a special thank you to Sarah for giving us quite the music this morning. Yashiko. That was stunning. It's something we'll have to return to. This week we're reading from Parshat Va'era. Parshat Va'era starts with a shocking claim. It says, I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as El Shaddai, but I did not make myself known to them by my implicit real name, Adonai, Yud-He, Vav-He. How is it that the Jewish people get to the Exodus, to get to this stage before knowing God's name as Adonai? That's a really stunning claim. It almost doesn't make sense, right? Adonai was the one who created the world. That's the word that's used there. Adonai has been the one revealing himself to Abraham per the narrative of the text, right? So how is it that it comes along and says the Jewish people haven't known me this way? I think it's a useful thing to contemplate also this week. This week we're coming together for a singing Shabbaton, and you might think, we sing every Shabbos, right? We know Shabbos. What do we need a Shabbaton for? What do we need special songs for? Right? We've been doing this our whole lives. The Jewish people had been the Jewish people for 400 years in Egypt and for hundreds of years prior to that. So what do they need to learn? Right? But God says, by my name, my real name, I haven't been known to them. I haven't been made known to them. Perhaps God was there as Adonai, as the narrative tells us, creating the world, speaking to Abraham, creating a people, blessing them. But was he really known? Is there something deep deeper, something richer to go to. That's what I hope that we can find as we spend this whole day together, that we can go deeper, right? That we can find as yet unknown face of God. And as you continue to read throughout this Parshat, we're in the middle of the Exodus from Egypt. And with each manifestation of God's power and miracles, the Jewish people are going a little deeper, right? God actually controls the food supply as the plague of locusts come in, right? God actually controls day and night as the darkness comes in. And God can touch even the divine Pharaoh as the 10th plague rolls in. That's incredible, right? Each of these are actually manifestations of the kind. Each of these plagues, which we often read, we won't read them all this morning because we're on triangle, but as we often read them, it kind of go, it's a kid's story. What is it really showing? It's actually showing another manifestation of divine power, of the power of the Creator over all the forms of power that we're more accustomed to on earth. So as you read, I hope that you can look for the new faces of God. What is it that God is revealing here? We begin on page 351. I hope you enjoy it. We continue to bring out the Torah on page 167. Can I call my Gabaim up to the front? We'll have Dr. Josh carry it. Hit us on. Get us started. 168.
Page 168. Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai ve'ein kamasecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai himlo le'olam v'hed Adonai oz le'amo yitein Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom Vayhi bin Aharon vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai ve'afusu oivecha ve'yanusu misanecha nitpanecha ki mision te'sei Torah ki Torah, Uderon Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadlu Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav. Lecha Adonai Hagidu.
Oh, we're in the first triennial?
What's
What's it? V'daber Elohim el Moshe. Okay, good.
Yes.
Today I'm.
Oh,
Are you up first?
well, anything else wouldn't be right.
So we're down to one mic over here. Naomi, do you think you're good to say the page numbers as we come through the Eliot?
Sure.
Very good. We've got our spot. We're good? Excellent. All right.
We begin our Torah reading on page 351, verse 2.
ויעזור וגן וישאר לכל החוסים בו ונאמר אמן הכל הבו גודל אלוהינו תנו קבל התורה
Dov ben Yosef.
יעמוד
Dov
דב בן יוסף הכהן ראשון ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו ואתם הדביקים אדוני אלוהיכם חיים כולכם היום
Baruch Adonai HaBaruch.
ברוך אדוני ברוך לעולם ועד
Baruch Adonai HaBaruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Amin V'naseh Lanu Es Toraso. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vaydaber Elohim el Moshe vayomer elav ani Adonai va'erem el Avraham el Yitzchak v'Yaakov el Shaddai ushmi Adonai lo nadati lahem v'gam hakimoti et briti tam latek lahem et eretz Canaan et ארץ מגוריהם אשר גרו בה, וגם אני שמעתי את נאקת בני ישראל, אשר מצרים מעבדים אותם, ואזכור את בריתי.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Nasan Lanu Torah Semes B'Hayei Olam Natapis V'Hainu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
As we come to the second Aliyah, I want to encourage you to try to count the 4 key verbs of redemption here. See if you can identify them. I want you to tuck them into your memory. Beginning verse 6, 352.
יעמדו גולדה בת יעקב ושנה
Avram
ואברהם
Yehuda V'Pesya.
בן יהודה
Pesya.
ופסיה לעליית שני
Baruch et Adonai HaBaruch.
ברוך אדוני מרח לעולם ועד
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
אמן לכן אמור לבני ישראל אני אדוני והוצאתי אתכם מתחת סבלות מצרים והצלתי אתכם מעבודתם וגאלתי אתכם בזרוע נטויה בשבטים גדולים ולקחתי אתכם לי לעם, והייתי לכם לאלוהים וידעתם. כי אני אדוני אלוהיכם, המוציא אתכם מתחת סבלות מצרים, והבאתי אתכם אל הארץ, אשר נשאתי את ידי לתת אותה לאברהם יצחק ליעקב, ונתתי אותה לכם מורשה אני אדוני. וידבר משה כן אל בני ישראל, ולא שמעו על משה מקוצר רוח ומעבודה קשה.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'Chayei Olam Nata B'Tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen.
So who's got the answer? What are the 4 verbs of redemption? You can do one of them actually. We'll get them all. We'll get there together. What's that? No, no, not ready. Okay.
Hotzeti?
Someone else, one of the verbs?
Hotzeti?
Yeah, Itamar's got one. Raise your hand.
Hotzeti.
Hotzeti is the very first one in verse 6, right? I will bring them out. Right? What else?
Hitzalti.
Oh, raise your hand so we can hear them. Yes, thank you. Lakafti, that's the fourth one, right? I will take them as my people. Remember, that's the same verb that's also used for marrying someone. Lokeach is sort of getting into a deep, deep relationship. How about the other two before Lakafti? Hitzalti comes as well. I will save them, right? And one more?
Ga'alti.
Ga'alti, yes, the third. Ga'alti, I will redeem them. So I'll bring them out. I will save them, or sort of rescue them, is really hitzil, from explicit oppression, right? Ga'alti, I'll redeem them. They'll belong to a different entity, and they'll behave in a different way as a result. And then lakachti, I will take them or I will marry them. These four verbs are very important, each indicating a different stress and a different aspect of the relationship between us and God since the Exodus. So hang in there with those ones. The third aliyah begins on verse 10, 353.
Shlishi? Who's got the third aliyah? Check your card.
Check your card.
Oh, we've got it there.
Gives me time to tell Josh. I'm really worried about this cord that people will kick it. If you put your foot close to it, then they won't.
Okay. Card it there.
You don't have an extra one in your pocket, do you?
He's got it.
He just forgot.
Forgot for a second. He's looking for a fifth verb.
You got six? Okay.
That's what I said, Shlishi.
Ya'amdu, Pesach, Yitzchak, Ben Tzvi, V'chana Esther, Bat, Avraham Yosef, Laliyat, Shlishi.
Baruch Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Baruch
Baruch Adonai Megalam. Asher Bachabanu Mikol Amim Rasalanos Teraso. Baruch Adonai. Sayin Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Bo daber el Paro melech Mitzrayim vishalach et bnei Yisrael me'aratzo. Vaydaber Moshe lifnei Adonai lemor. Ein bnei Yisrael o sham uhu elai. Ve'eh yishma'enu Paro v'ani aral sfatayim. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe v'Aaron mitzavim el bnei Yisrael v'Paro melech Mitzrayim lotzi et bnei Yisrael
Me'eretz Mitzrayim.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher nasa lana Torah semez v'chaye olam nata b'socheinu. Baruch Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen.
We just got one of the more curious metaphors you can get in the Exodus story. I am a man of four-skinned lips. Moses said. What he seems to be indicating is they're closed. Somehow his mouth is closed. He's a man without an open mouth. He doesn't talk right, is how he feels, right? Maybe it's garbled when it comes out. Maybe he has some kind of speech impediment. Maybe in front of important people he gets all nervous and can't talk. It's unclear, but what's extraordinary is that Moses said this back at the bush too, right? And here it's coming up now that it's, now that it's live. It's time to go. It's time to bring the people out. And he's still saying, but I'm going to mess up my part. As if that was enough to stop the Exodus, right? As if Moses' impeded speech would prevent God's plan. We're told that Moses is super humble, right? But here he seems to be bothered with a different question, which is, will I be enough? Will I be good enough? And I think he's still learning. This is the young Moses. Still learning that his issues won't stop what God is bringing into the world, namely the Exodus. And you might actually see it as actually the opposite of humility. Too much concern with the self. Am I going to be good enough? All those objections he had at the bush as well in last week's Parshat that actually aren't relevant to the process. He's still learning the humility to say, oh, it's not all about me and what I can do or can't do. It's actually about the divine plan. We continue on the third aliyah with name. So the fourth aliyah with verse 14.
Ya'amdu Tova Bat Lisha V'chanaleya Benjamin ben Hershel Aliyat Revi'it.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Ele Rashi Beit Avotam Bnei Ruven. Bechor Yisrael, Chanach ufalu chetron v'charmi ele mishpachot Ruven v'bnei Shimon. Yamuel v'yamin v'ahad v'yachin bat Zachar v'Shaul ben Haknaanit ele mishpachot Shimon v'ele shemot bnei Levi v'toldotam Gershon ukat umari. Ushne chaye Levi, Sheva ushloshim, umat shana, b'nei Gershon, lifnei v'shimi l'mishpachotam, uvnei kahat amram, v'yitza v'chevron, v'uziel ushne chaye kahat, shalosh ushloshim, umat shana, uvnei Merari machli, Umushi ele mishpachot halevi letoldotam.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emes. V'chayei olam notav b'soheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
We're on page 355, verse 20.
Ya'amdu Yitzchak Hershben Meir v'Rezel v'Chanasima bat Beryl v'Azner Laliyat Chamishi.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Vayikach Amraham. Et Yocheved Dodato lo Laisha v'Teled lo et Aharon v'yet Moshe u'shnei chaye Amram Sheva u'shloshim umat shana v'nei Yitzar Korach v'nifchi v'nefeg v'zikri uvnei Uziel Mishael v'Eltzafan v'Sitri v'yikach Aharon et Elisheva bat Aminadav achot Nachshon lo Laisha v'Teled lo et Nadav v'et Avihu et Elazar v'et Itamar v'nei Korach asher v'Eltzafan v'Aviasaf ele mishpachot haKorchi v'Elazar ben Aharon v'kach lo mibanot Putiel lo Laisha v'Teled lo et Pinchas ele Rashi avot halviim lamishpachotam.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
You doing it before 6 or after 6?
After the sources.
That's fine.
Was it?
Yeah.
The names that we're reading right now tell us something very important about Jewish culture. Also in this synagogue, we love to preserve names. And these are some of the oldest Jewish names that you can find. We don't just take numbers of people, right? Because people deserve the time to be mentioned individually. I want you to think of that, both as we read these lists of names, but also as you hear the lists that we read week by week, the yard site list, the sick list. Because each person in their individuality deserves to be mentioned. And in this genealogy, I'm happy to say there's also several women who play essential roles who are named here, which was a stretch at that time, and it's still something that we're stretching to make sure that we represent the full individuality of each person, including the women and others who might be passed over.
Ya'amdu.
Chana Tova
Chana Tova Machia Bat Devorat Esther
Daniel Joseph ben Mordechai
Daniel
Leah.
Yosef ben Mordechai Leah Laliat Shishit.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Amen. Hu Aharon u'Moshe asher amar Adonai lahem hotziu et bnei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim al tivotam hem hamdabrim el Paro melech Mitzrayim lahotzi et bnei Yisrael mi Mitzrayim hu Moshe v'Aharon vayehi Vayom diber Adonai el Moshe be'eretz Mitzrayim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
As we gather today on this joyful Shabbaton, we also want to recall those who are ill and pray for their healing. Mishaberach avotenu Avraham Yitzhak veYaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah hu yivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim. David Kimmerling, Lynette Slaughter, Sue Tuck, Leah Aviva Bat Ita Rachel, Bruce Fleissig, Wayne Lassen, Corey Rothman, Izzy Mae Sherman, Dudley Hinman, Catherine Bland, Taylor Cabase, and James Knifeford. And if you have the names of others, would you please raise your hand and say them loud enough so I can hear them? Alberto Petran. It's a very healthy side, yeah. Natalie Asman.
Gad ben Leah.
God ben Leah. Davida bat Baruch v'Shifra. Judy Davids. Nachum ben Esther and Paul Schatz. Michael Barrero, David Fort. Sorry. Mayor Burston. Very good. Kristen Greenhouse. Andy Madera.
To make a van.
Warren. Yeah. And our very own Warren. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimele Rachamim Alehem Lachizikam Ulerapotam Veishlach Lahem Meira Rufua Shelema Mina Shamayim Rufuat HaNefesh Urfuat HaGuf B'toch Shar Cholim Chazek et Yedei Oskim B'tzorcheihem Shabbati Milizok Rufua Krova Lavo Hashta Bagalo Bizman Kariv V'nomar Amen. You join me in song? Mi shebeirach avoteinu mekor habracha ve'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
The Torah reading continues on page 356, verse 29.
Talmud Yehudit Miriam Bat
Chaim Avraham.
Chaim Avraham v'Malka Laliyat Shvi'it.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam. Asher bo chabonu mikol ha'amim v'notan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'yedaber Adonai el Moshe lemahar ani daber. Ani Adonai daber el Paro melech Mitzrayim et kol asher ani dover elecha. Vayomer Moshe lifnei Adonai henani aral sefatim va'ech yishma elai Paro. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe Re'eh nadaticha Elohim lefaro va'aharon echicha yeh neviecha. Ata tedaber et kol asher atzavecha va'aharon achicha yedaber el paro v'yedaber el paro v'shilach et bnei Yisrael me'artzao v'ani akshe et lev paro v'hirbeti yadototai Bet Moftai be'eretz Mitzrayim, v'lo yishma alechem paro, v'natati et yadi be'Mitzrayim, v'hotzeti et tzivotahai, et ami b'nei Yisrael, me'eretz Mitzrayim b'shvatim gedolim, v'yadu Mitzrayim, ki ani Adonai bimtoti et yadi al Mitzrayim, v'hotzeti et b'nei Yisrael, mitoch ha'am, v'yas Moshe v'yaharon ka'asher tiva Adonai, otam kein asu'u, u'Moshe ben shemonim shana, v'yaharon ben shalosh u'shmonim shana, v'dabram el paro.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam, asher notan lanu Torah emes v'chayei olam notah b'socheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Yeah, I'm just want to. Please rise for the Chatz Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמר הבא, ויעמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחייכנו יומכו, וחיידכו בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב אמרו, אמן. יהי שמירה ומבורך, לעולם ולעולם לעלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירם בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. יעמוד 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 שלמה גרשון בן גבריאל הלוי לעליית מפטיר חזק.
Make a seat.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavarach.
Baruch Adonai barach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai barach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Vayedu Mitzrayim, ki ani Adonai bintoti et yadi al Mitzrayim, v'hotzeti et bnei Yisrael mitoch ha'am, v'yas Moshe v'Aharon ka'asher tziva Adonai otam ken asu'u, u'Moshe ben shemonim shana v'Aharon ben shalosh u'shmonim shana, v'dabram el paro.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam notah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ya'amod hamakbiyah, ta'amod hagolelet. Please rise as the Torah is lifted. V'zot ha'Torah asher sa Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe.
It's okay.
You may be seated. The Haftarah that Ed is about to read to us has a lot of connections to our Parsha. First, it deals with Egypt, and that's significant. It also addresses immediately, God's power even over Pharaoh and the Nile, these mighty things. It pronounces a note of hope about returning the people from their dispersion, much like the hope that the Exodus prompts. But I think there's also a verbal link. If you look in the final verse of it, which would be on 373, You have V'yad'u ki ani Adonai. Then my people will know that I am God. It's also said for Mitzrayim will yed'u, they will know. And given that that's in the opening verses of Era, Nodati lahem, I will be known, it strikes me that that verbal link is often one of the best explanations for why this haftarah or another. It's about the growing knowledge that people have, that we opened up our reading of Torah together with. That the things that God is going to do is going to cause him to be known, specifically that Egypt will no longer be the mivtach, no longer be the thing that people rely on. There's a beautiful metaphor here about relying on a reed and then it falls over and actually the splinters hurt the person who relies on it. See, the strange irony through most of the Israelite and Judean kingdoms was that Egypt was still the most powerful country or kingdom in the world. And so when you wanted to have a political alliance, you went and made an alliance with Egypt. Right? But we also have this little story about the Exodus, about leaving Egypt, right? And it was all the prophets could do to get those kingdoms to not be always reliant on Egypt and treat it as their greatest ally. And instead, God wanted to be their greatest ally. And so you see this struggle throughout the prophets, not just in Yechezkel, but in Yirmiyahu at a very high pitch as well, that the people should not rely primarily on Egypt or on other countries, but instead on God. And so that's what we're reading here, right? In a word, be careful what it is that you rely upon. You can find the Parsha on page 370 to 72.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'neviim tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habalcher b'torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'nevi'eh ha'emet v'tzedek. Kol amar Adonai Elohim b'kapti et Beit Yisrael min hamim asher navtzovam v'nikdashtivam le'nei hagoyim v'yashvu al atmatam asher natati li'avdi li'Yaakov v'yashvu eleha levetach v'anu ahatim natiyu kramim v'yashvu levetach pasotish yifatim v'chol ashatim oto mishvi votam yadu ki ani Adonai Eloheim v'shana asirit b'asirit Bishnei Asar Lachado L'Chodesh Haya Devar Adonai Elai Lemor Ben Adam Sim Panecha Al Paro Melech Mitzrayim V'hinovei Alav V'ya Mitzrayim kula daber v'yamarta ko amar Adonai Elohim hineni alecha paro melech Mitzrayim hata'anim hagadol Harovetz b'tok yorav asher amar li lo yiriv ani asitini v'natati hachayim bilchayecha v'hidvar Bhakti Degat Yoreka Bikash Sotecha Yaletecha Mitoch Yoreka V'yeit Kol Degat Yoreka Bikash Kisotecha Tidbak Und Tashticha Hamidbara Otecha V'yeit Kol Degat Yoreka Al Pnei Hasadeh Tipol Lo Te'esev Lo Tikavet L'chayat ha'aretz V'yov hashamayim Nitatecha li'achala V'yodeyu Ko yoshvei Mitzrayim Ki ani Adonai Yan Hayotam Mishanet Kahane Levet Yisrael B'tov Sam B'cha Akav Terot Kata Lohem Kol Katev V'sha'anam Alecha Tishaver Ha'amidata Lohem Kamatnayim Lachem Ko Amar Adonai Elohim Hineni Mevi Alayich Harev V'hikar Ti mihimek Adam v'hema Yaya Eretz Mitzrayim Nishmama v'harba V'yadeu Ki ani Adonai Yanamar Yor livani asiti laken Hineni elecha yel yorecha V'natati et eretz Mitzrayim karvod Horev shmama Mikadol Sesene Yadgivu Kush Lo Ta'avarba Ragel Adam Regel Behema Lo Ha'avar V'lo Teheshev Arba'im Shana V'natati et Eretz Mitzrayim Shmama B'tov Haratzot Nishamot V'yereha B'tov Arim B'charavot Tiena Shmama Arba'im Shana Gavitzoti et Mitzrayim Bagayim V'seritim V'yaratzon Ki Ko Amar Adonai Elohim Mikhet Arba'im Shana V'kabetz et Mitzrayim Min ha'amim Asher noftu shama Shabbati Yeshivut Mitzrayim Ashivoti Otam Eretz Patrom Al El Eretz Mikuratam V'hayusham ממלכה שפלה מן המלכות תהיה שפלה ולא תתנשא עוד על הגויים והיא מתאים לבלתי רדות בגויים ולא יהיה עוד לבית ישראל למבטח מזכיר עוון בפנותם אחריהם וידעו כי אני אדוני אלוהים ויהי יושבים בשבע שנה בראשון באחד לחודש והיה דבר אדוני אלי לאמור בן אדם נבוכדנצר מלך בבל העבר את כלו עובד גדולה אל צור כל ראש מלכרך וכל כתף מרוטה לשחור לא היה לא וכלו מצור אל העבודה אשר עבד עליה לכם כה אמר אדוני אלוהים הנני נותן לנבוכדנצר מלך בבל ואת ארץ מצרים ונשא המונה ושלל שללה ובצץ ביצה והיתש שכר לכלו ילדתו אשר עבד בה נתתי לו את ארץ מצרים אשר עשו לי נאום אדוני אלוהים ביום ההוא אצמיח קרן לבית ישראל ולך אתן בכל פת בתוכה ידעו אני אדוני אלוהים. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol amim tzadik b'kol hadarot ha'el haneman hamer v'yoseh medaber mekayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek neman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'de'emanim devarecha v'davar echad midvarecha ha'chal ha'yashuv rekam ki el melech neman brachaman atah Baruch atah Adonai ha'el haneman b'chol devarav Rachem al Zion ki vet chayenu v'la'aluvat nefesh toshia v'meirav yameinu Baruch atah Adonai nisamech Zion b'vaneha Samkeinu Adonai Eloheinu b'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha U'malchut bes David meshichecha במהרה יבוא וירגל ליבנו, על כיסו לא ישב זר, ולא ינקלו עוד אחרים את כבודו. כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכבה נרה לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן דוד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמלוכה, לכבוד ותפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שבך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
We're going to read in view of the time. I really do want to try to get us out as close to 12 as possible. We're going to read together really just items 4, 5, and 6. That's on pages 3 and 4. So what you can do is turn to a friend, turn to a stranger, even better, and read these together. There are guiding questions at the beginning of those sections. Let me just tell you what you're reading if you weren't here last night. What you're reading is a talk by Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel on prayer given in 1959 in Milwaukee at an ecumenical conference about liturgy and prayer. And I think he asked some of the most important questions. See if you can answer the question that section begins with by the time that you're done. I'll give you just over 5 minutes. Go. 4, 5, and 6. Take one more minute, see if you can at least finish up 5. All right, I'll bring your attention back into the middle of the room. If you haven't finished reading it all, that's okay. Take these home. I don't want to collect these at the end of today. I want you to keep them and read them. So don't feel rushed. That's out of spirit with Shabbat. Last night we gathered and read the first 3 sections of this, and so we covered topics like how is prayer simply different from reading something out of a Siddur. We already did that one. For Rabbi Heschel, it's a matter of deep and personal and intimate connection with the language of prayer and with God. We also talked about his analogy between prayer and a home, right? And talked about this as our shared home and the home we want to build together with a culture of deeply felt prayer. And then in the third section, we already handled how Heschel says that while prayer serves a lot of positive purposes, it also isn't done for the sake of reducing our anxiety or making us feel better. Right? That would make prayer self-serving. We pray because in that moment of prayer, we access something far bigger than ourselves. And he builds on that in the 4th section that you read today, right? What does prayer have to do with life, right? Why should we spend so much time? I think this is very much on the minds of modern people. Why should I spend the time to go to Minyan? Or, oh my gosh, 2 hours, actually it's closer to 2.5, sometimes 3 hours on a Saturday, right? Why should I spend so much time? What does it achieve? It didn't take anything off my checklist. Right? It didn't appear to achieve anything. I think he answers that pretty well. In your words, how would you answer, why should we take the time to pray, according to section 4 here? Jimmy.
Makes you look inward to evaluate what the rest of your life is, whether you're doing things in an appropriate way.
Right. Prayer is not the moment for action, but instead perhaps for self-reflection that allows us to take better and better actions, the appropriate actions in life. It allows an aligning of our time, our limited time, with God's purposes, right? It's that space for reflection that is very much wanting at other times. That is a huge purpose of prayer, and it absolutely should connect back to life, right? It should call us to take an accounting of ourselves. Right? I'm going to be dealing more this afternoon with what to do in the silences of prayer, but a lot of what I'll be talking about is how that can be a time for aligning ourselves, for self-reflection, for raising the needs that we have, and actually it feeds directly into the rest of how we live life if we're doing it well. Then in section 5 on the last page, Heschel handles what should I pray for, and he talks about it as a process of sort of resensitizing ourselves, moving away from our everyday opportunism, right? What's in it? What's the benefit, right? What's the takeaway you hear all the time, right? But that has a kind of, it skews our approach to the whole world as if we're only users of things. We're far more than users, right? It tries to shift our relentless pursuit of our own self-interest, right? That actually makes us oblivious to reality, as he puts it. But this will take time, right? This is, again, why we take so much time in prayer, right? It'll be a constant process of learning and re-educating. And that's why the words of the Siddur are not the words that you or I might make up ourselves, because it puts us in a position that is it's very different from a self-centered perspective on life, right? I would even call it a training in taking a decentered, having a decentered self and a decentered view, therefore, of all of reality. And finally, in section 6, he addresses how should I pray? And I just want to read some of those quotes out directly, right? He says, the beginning of prayer is praise. The power of worship is in song. First we sing, and then we understand. First we praise, then we believe. Praise and song open eyes to the grandeur of reality that transcends the self. That's why we're doing this Shabbaton with a focus on it, a focus on song, right, and a focus on praise. That's why we put most of our time and energy into Pesuke this morning. And actually, because of the time, we're not going to get Musaf today, because I do want to get us out at 12. Don't worry, I checked with Chabad. They are doing Musaf. A congregation in the city needs to say Musaf. Chabad are doing Musaf. And we are going to get to lunch. We're not going to make a habit of this, though. There were tornadoes and people lost their lives that week. We're not going to make a habit of it. So Heschel continues that, that this praising of God makes God present in the mind, right? Rather than boredom, which is sometimes what I see on the faces of people who come to pray, it should be a moment of your imagination lighting up, right? Insofar as you're able to understand the words and use the English. If you have to use the English to understand the words of prayer, do. Your imagination should be caught up with trying to envision what you're seeing, or what you're saying. What would it look like? What would it feel like if these things were true, right? That's what you should be doing throughout prayer. Then in that third paragraph, he says to worship, and the bold, is to join with the cosmos in praising God, right? We're tapping into a deeper reality. To praise is to call forth the promise and presence of the divine. We live for the sake of a song. We praise for the privilege of existing. Worship is the climax of living. A year ago at my installation, Jimmy said, Rabbi Stephen's really into praying. He thinks that's a big deal. He keeps on emphasizing that. And this is why I wanted to take you to my teacher, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, to explain why I think it is such a big deal. Why we should not only pray that we might live, but we should actually live so that we can pray. It is in many ways the purpose of our life. It's why we wouldn't want to make it subservient to anything else. And then he sums it up by saying the essence of living as a human being is being challenged, being tempted, being called. That's the voice that we can hear in prayer, and probably most perfectly in prayer. And that's why we spend so much time doing it. I want to bless you on this Shabbat, Shabbat Va'era, and our singing Shabbaton, that you should come to experience prayer this way, in this space, and that you should be able to look forward to it week by week, to come and to sing joyfully, to sing with other people close to you where you can feel the vibrations of their song, and that you should come to see the world differently on account of your praying. Shabbat Shalom. We have a new moon coming up this week. The month of Shvat is coming in, Sunday night, Yom Sheni. And so we're going to announce that new month on page 180. If you will please rise as the Torah comes down into the congregation. You hang on over just a second. יהי רצון מלפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו שתחדש עלינו את החודש הבא לטובה ולברכה ותיתן לנו חיים ארוכים חיים של שלום חיים של טובה חיים של ברכה חיים של פרנסה חיים של חילוץ עצמות חיים שיש בהם יראת שמיים ויראת חטא חיים שאין בהם בושה וכלימה, חיים של עושר וכבוד, חיים שתהיה בנו אהבת תורת ויראת שמיים, חיים שימלאו משאלות ליבנו לטובה, אמן, סלע. מי שעשה ניסים לאבותינו גאל אותם מעבדות לחירות הוא ימלא אותנו בקרוב ויקבץ נדחנו מארבע כנפות הארץ חברינו כל ישראל ונאמר אמן ראש חודש שבט יהיה ביום שני ושלישי הבא עלינו ועל כל ישראל לטובה Sheni. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael letova, Yechad Shehu HaKadosh Baruch Hu Aleinu ve'al kol Amo Beit Yisrael, Lechayim ol Shalom, Lesason ul Simcha, Lishua u'lenechama, ve'nomar Amen. Might just say with it over there, won't have much time.
Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Od Yehalelucha Selah. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Od Yehalelucha Selah. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Od Yehalelucha Selah. One more time. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Od Yehalelucha Selah. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Od Yehalelucha Selah. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Od Yehalelucha Selah. Ashrei Ham Shekachalo, Ashrei Ham Shadonai Lo. Tehillat Adonai Yedaber Pi, Vivarecho Basar Shem Kodsho Le'olam Va'ed, Va'anachnu Nevarech Ya, Me'ata Be'ad Olam, Hallelujah.
183, please rise.
Yeah, Hallelujah, et Shem Adonai, Ki Nizkar Shemo Levado, Odo Eretz V'Shamayim, Vayaren Keren Le'amo, Tehillah Le'chol Hasidah, Livnei Yisrael Am Kirovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Mizmor LeDavid, Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz. Hara kodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim, Kol Adonai. Vayarkiden kimo egel Lebanon v'Sirion kimo ven reimim. Kol Adonai chotzav lavodesh.
That's my point.
Vayechasov yarod uvehechalo kol omer kavod.
Adonai l'mabul yashav vayeshem Adonai melech le'olam. Adonai oz le'amo yitein. Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom.
Unucho yomar. Eitz Chaim hi l'mazim ba v'tom v'yikadash shemei rabba. Ma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon uvyomechon. U'chaye decho be'Yisrael. Bagala, bagala. Uvizman karim. V'imeru. Yeheshmei rabba mevora. Ve'olam lo me'amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dikudisha le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata tamiran v'yalma v'imeru. Amen. We continue on page 205 with Aleinu. Aleinu lishabeach la'adon ha'kol la'tekidu la'le'yotzer bereishit Sanikigayeh haratzot velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo samchakenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamona v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamochim hakadosh baruch hu. V'hashevota el levavecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim v'hashevota el levavecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim v'ne'emar Adonai lamelech al kol ha'aretz bayom ha'hu bayom ha'hu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo 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 echad u'shemo.
You may be seated. This week we recall the yahrzeits of the following: Leslie Allen, Pauline Alterman, Judy Applebaum, Nathan Boxer, Ida Brown, Sophie Zeitlin, Daryl Cohen, B. Dennis, Lena Davis, B. Dennis, Mulko Dralick, Bela Fagelson, Charles Fleissig, Max Friedman, Gossie Gary, Sidney Gawant, Marguerite Gingold, Fanny Goldberg, Stephen Goldman, Libby Goldner, Harold Goldstein, Philip Grusin, Virginia Hyman, Alfred Jaffe, Sadie Jaffe, Shirley Kimmel, Belly Coplin, Rosalind Kuttner, Pauline Levy, Isidore Lichter, Ernest Marks, Irving May, Mervyn Mendelson, Mildred Packler, Arthur Perlstein, Aaron Pollock, Anna Prenikova, Lucy Rice, Harry Rootman, Isidore Schlaff, Helen Schulman, J.M. Silverstein, Murray Sokol, Julia Solomon, Betty Tuchansky, Stephen Walnuck, and Alexander Zeltzer. If you are saying Kaddish, please rise, page 207. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divra kirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lal me'al mayad. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. Vitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shmei Kudsha, Brechu, Leila, Minkol, Birchata, Vishirata, Tushpechata, Venechemata, Dam Iran, Bealma, Vimru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, Vichayim Aleinu Ve'alkol Yisroel, Veimeru, Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'alkol Yisroel, Veimeru, Amen. Kathy, could I call you forward to give us some announcements? Oh. Oh. Kathy, here's that at the right height? Good. Write it down before you-
You all look so beautiful, and you sound even better. So, good Shabbos. Well, we've got so much going on this afternoon. I promise I'll read some of these announcements, but some of the highlights, what Barry Dreyer is referring to as the duel at the shul, starts shortly after lunch at 12:45, and it's located where? Downstairs. Oh, right here. Oh, it's going to be right here. And we've got a lot of, okay, there are flyers that tell you everything that's going on. So among the things that are going on this afternoon, firstly, we're going to start off with an amazing lunch. Thank you, Bernard. And if that's not enough, we have an even more amazing dinner tonight for our party tonight. So don't miss the chicken sliders tonight. I think those are going to be really, really good. We have chair yoga. We've got yoga nidra. We've got learning. We've got, what else do we have? We have mahjong, right? So, and I think some people brought some other games. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's see. Firstly, thank you to all the lay leaders and others who participated in this week's service. Including Myra Griffith, who greeted on Friday night, Rabbi Stephen, Naomi Ifker, Ed Feinberg, Yasher Koach, Barry Ifker, Aaron Walsh. I don't know who I missed. Who did? Josh? Yes, Josh Ifker as well. So February, onward to other things. February 2nd will be a busy day for us. Join us for the Worldwide Rap Minyan at 8 a.m. I saw a video of this from last year. It's really amazing, and I hope that a lot of people will come to that. Followed by our Super Bowl breakfast. This program is in honor of our fifth graders receiving their set of tefillin, part of a National Men's Club program on Super Bowl Sunday each year. Your presence will support our youth as they journey towards their bar and bat mitzvot. Everyone is invited to Minyan and breakfast. Is sponsored by the Temple Bethel Men's Club with religious school to follow. And I think there's a little fundraiser that goes along with that too. So check on that because there's a Super Bowl fundraiser. And for $100, you can not only participate in the fundraiser, but pay your Men's Club dues for the year. Our first ever Mental Health Awareness Shabbat is next weekend. Kalat Jewish Family Services has collaborated with a number of other organizations and I think the Federation to put this on, and we'll be hearing a lot about some of the things that we can do to help support mental health initiatives in our own community. Generation XYZ has planned their next event for February 16th, Love at the Lyric. We should sing that. That should be a song. Maestro Loves Mardi Gras, a concert for the whole family. Tickets are on sale for $20 for a limited time only. Purchase your tickets online at templebethel.net. Be sure to join Rabbi Stephen for Beit Midrash 2.0 on Thursdays at noon. This week, he'll be teaching on the Talmud as a model for approaching contradictory biblical passages. Visit the TBE website to see all our current learning opportunities. The Kiddush Luncheon in the Filler Cultural Center is sponsored by the Eder Kane Kiddush Luncheon Fund of the Temple Bethel Foundation. And here's Bob.
Yasher Koach, thank you, Kathy. I would like to add very quickly that there are more thanks. First of all, we really have to thank the inspiration for even coming up with the idea of this weekend, locally grown, and I want to thank Sarah for that idea. So thank you, Sarah. We have so much talent in our midst, and we're so grateful that she really worked hard all week, really all month, really all fall to prepare for this. I also really want to add that this luncheon and the whole weekend is really made possible by beyond just a single person or source, but by many. So I want to thank all of you who supported the campaign that Sarah started online, the Juicer campaign, to help make the special meals, the special programs possible. And I want to especially thank the Temple Bethel Foundation, which supported this from the get-go. Particularly, I would like to thank the Ostrowski Music Education Fund and the Rabbi Culpepper and Irby Cohen Performing Arts Fund of the Temple Bethel Foundation for really, together with your support, making it a special weekend. So thank you all.
So just to highlight where we're going, at each hour this afternoon, there will be a new event at 1 o'clock, at 2 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock, unless it's Barry's at 1:15. Then we'll have Suda Shlishi at 4:30. Havdalah, so Mariv will be a little bit after 5. Havdalah at 6. There will be some dancing following that, and some heavy hors d'oeuvres that Bernard has prepared for us. And then probably around 6:45, we'll get a bit of a concert with Sarah called Sarah Metzger's Bachelorette Party. So you don't want to miss it.
With some of my favorite unshulable songs. So. All right, so our service will conclude with Adon Olam on page 211. Can I get a little... Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzirni ra li'et nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemoni ve'acharei kichlota kol levado yimlochno ra ve'hu haya ve'hu hove ve'hu yeh b'tifara ve'hu echad ve'ein sheni להמשילו להחבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצורכב ליבי יצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנקוסי ביומך בידו אף כדרו Be'eti shine be'ai ra Adon Olam Tzirni ra Nesam v'tzoko Azai melech shemoni We will rock you Shabbat shalom Shabbat shalom
Get it! Please rise. Shamru b'nei Yisrael hashabat lasot et hashabat edorotam berid olam ve'yiv b'nei Yisrael oti leolam ki sheshim asa Adonai hashamayim et haaretz u'vayom hashvi Shabbat nafal al ken v'rach Adonai yom hashabat b'kashehu stavri Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei kriyat gafei. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shekitanu sotah shebanu netilat yadayim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
I got this. That was so fun.
for his life, I think so. You know, the last third is certainly his most eventful of his life.
It's interesting because in the Middle East, you're supposed to turn something down twice and then accept it the third time. He turns it down 3 times, and at that point,
God gets angry. But here he is still repeating that. Isn't that amazing?
He's not recently married. They've been married for about 4 or 5 years now. Yeah, I know. It seems like it's been recent.
Do you know about?
Abe just said he was a little sick.
You're still doing a lot with the Greg Church. Yeah, I know. I have a very strong opinion that I won't do it. No, I'll probably get sucked in too. But I just can't. You know, it's almost impossible for us to get families to get out of school early for anything. But they will do it. They'll do it for sports. So I always wonder about that. Yeah, right. So I think that's part of why I'm not going to do it, is that we're not going to participate. So, yeah. Other leagues, right. On top. Yeah, so I think we're just not going to participate. See how that goes over.
kidding.